let's talk about 2023. So we invested all that effort, so much went into this. Millions of dollars really went into the lab. And that's why I go to the cafeteria to eat peanuts for dinner. But so in patients younger than 35, we reached our goal. At the last meeting, I said I want the pregnancy rate to be 70% in all categories. That didn't happen. But younger than 35 for 2023, we are at 70% ongoing. I'm not counting the miscarriages. Those are negative. And all of our transfers, correct me if I'm wrong, the embryologists are here, have been single embryo transfer, regardless of whether they're euploid, genetically tested or not. So we only perform single embryo transfers. Over 35, we're not there yet. We're hovering around 40%. But it could also be because we're only transferring a single embryo. Most of our transfers this year have been PGTA, genetically tested embryos, euploid, and the guideline says you should transfer one. So it's hard to explain why, but the embryologists and I think all the staff know we're not there yet, and we would like to be there before our next meeting on October 5th of 2024. So hopefully we can go up higher and over 35. So we partially achieved our goal of what we talked about at the last meeting, but I do feel that it's still work in progress. And adding Susan joining us from Scotland, I kept on harassing her till she came back. Sometimes harassment works. Now, 2022, it hasn't been published yet, but these are our numbers. 80% of the transfers were single embryo transfers. In younger than 35, we were 55%, 35 to 37, 45. Then it drops to 40, and we're at 10%, 41 to 42, above the national average. But I don't think we were at the stage that we're at now, and we didn't have adequate embryology coverage. I mean, we had Cameron and Dr. Rahil, but I think now we have more staff that can do even a better job. But still, these numbers are competitive. Now, I want to go back to, wow. Okay, I'm not sure if my eyes are that good anymore, but these are our pregnancy rates from 2013. The reason why I'm showing this is because I want you to see what the CDC has on their website. And I want to go back to 2013 in Palm Springs. First of all, the category that's of interest, the ART cycle profile. For patient diagnosis, 55% of our patients have diminished ovarian reserve for that year, which is very common in Palm Springs. We tend to see patients when when they're kind of towards the end of their lifespan of their ovarian lifespan, and there could be many reasons why that is, financial or other reasons. But more than half of our patients were compromised ovarian reserve, and in younger than 35, we finished the year at 62.1%. Which is phenomenal. I mean, these are really competitive rates. That's for 10, 11 years ago when a lot of IVF centers were half this success. So this is really, these are really good numbers. Now, 35 to 37, we were at 46.9%, and I'm talking about live birth, not pregnancy, and then 38 to 40, 38%. And we even had 2 live births from patients using their own eggs at age 44. To me, when you look at numbers and you see patients who are in their 40s getting pregnant, even if they're few, you have good embryologists and you have a good lab. With egg donation, we had 7 out of 9, small numbers but still very competitive. So this is back in 2013. Susan was with us at that time, and Hank was with us as well. Now, this is 2014, and in 2014, I think I was looking at the, 2014, the younger than 35 is again 60%, really competitive. And what made this year very unique is that patients 38 to 40 had a live birth rate of 60%. That's almost unheard of in the field. I mean, that year was just a good year for us. And we also helped one patient at age 42 using her own eggs, and another one at age 44. And again, that's how you judge a program when tough older patients, conceive. Diminished ovarian reserve for that year was 45%. It's always, high and 3 times higher than the national average. Now, if we go on to 2015, younger than 35, and again, this is the CDC data, was 52%, 35 to 37, 61%, and then it dropped to 25%. We had 4 patients deliver at age 42, and we even helped a 45-year-old have her own child. You know, the pregnancy rate at the national level is, you know, it's usually 15 people that make it out of 1,500, around that, so less than 1%. So that was a really good year for the clinic. And when patients who are over 40, when we help them, that's how I know we're doing good, because they're the tough ones. With egg donation, we did well as well. With frozen embryos, all of them got pregnant, 5 out of 5. Again, small numbers. And then for fresh embryos with egg donation, it was 6 out of 8. Now, moving on to 2016, and you know, for that year, the live birth rate for younger than 35, it was 40%. Which is, you know, not really, you know, that high. You know, it's above the national average, but I was not very pleased. But for the next category, we were at 50%, and then we also helped 2 patients conceive at you know, age 41 to 42. 16 was also a tough year for us and for the clinic, in that you know, we were covering, you know, 2 separate clinics 2 hours apart, and you know, I really feel that we could have done a better job. Moving on to 2017, that year, compromised ovarian reserve was 66%. That, I'm talking about patients with high FSH, low AMH. The national live birth rate for those patients is, Sammy, I mean, it's what, 15, 20%? So, you know, most of our patients had just, you know, were tough compromised ovarian reserve patients, and that's reflected in the numbers for that year. Moving on to 2018, compromised ovarian reserve dropped to 32%, and that's reflected in the numbers of live birth rate of 71% in patients younger than 35. And we also helped 2 patients who are 42 and 1 patient who was 44 for that year. Now, in moving on to 2019, I began noticing that the numbers were low. It's hard to judge, but younger than 35, we were only 45%, and the compromised ovarian reserve was 47%. The other numbers were good, but we did not get any pregnancies that year for patients over age 40. And the numbers were small that you can't really judge, but younger than 35, we were only at 45%. And that's when a decision was made. We have to really make a lot of changes in the lab. And then the pandemic happened, and that's when all the construction and repairs began. Even in 2020, we were 51% in younger than 35, and we did have 2 live births at age 42. And the other numbers were over 50%, but they're really small numbers. Compromised ovarian reserve was 41% for that year. And then we made all the changes, all the repairs, additional staff. You know, like I said earlier, we really tried to perfect the lab as much as we could. And we began seeing the change in 22. And 23 is, you know, we're having a really good year for younger than 35, and over 35, we're at 40%. Very good, but not outstanding. And I still think that by having, you know, more staff and perfecting the lab even more, we'll have even higher outcome. And I hopefully at the next meeting, I'll be able to say that we're 70% with single embryo transfer for all of our transfers. So that's really our goal.